Well, hey to everyone. I'm Sievers for Bionic Buzz. I'm back with my special co-host, DJ Rossstar. We're so excited to have Ben joining us. We're going to be talking lots of fun stories, new Yellowcard coming up. Well, I guess reissue, I guess I should say.
Hey.
And Ross, I guess, why don't you fill in about the whole Takeover Records and your story back in the day in LA, and then we'll kind of go from there, you know?
Well, before I moved to Los Angeles, I was a Yellowcard fan, like most people watching. I went to American in Washington, D.C., where I met you, Steve. And a high school buddy of mine was at the University of Maryland. And in 2001, he called me and he said, hey, my roommate is from Florida. He's not like a huge pop punk fan, but there's a band that he likes because he's seen them play like growing up a lot. And this is their album, One for the Kids. And I said, okay, I'll check it out. And I was like, oh, what the heck? This is insane. And immediately I loved it. Like right away, I went out and I got my own copy. And then I played it for you, I think, Steve, and that's how you found it. And so I believe the first time we saw Yellowcard, we were talking about this earlier, was at Is it called Riker Theater?
Fletcher's is a small little place upstairs in Fells Point, Baltimore.
Yeah.
In Baltimore, Maryland, yeah.
And that was the first time we saw you live, and we were blown away by that. Yeah.
You guys in Homegrown, I believe, right? Yeah.
You know what? What's so funny is I don't know if you've ever told me the story, and
maybe not.
I haven't. I've just forgotten it because it's been like 10 years.
Yeah,
but that's dope. And I remember that show very specifically with Homegrown, and it was one other band. Come on, it wasn't Starting Line. It's Homegrown and Alistair.
Yes. Yeah, when Alistair was opened up. Yeah.
And you can't forget Fletcher's because of the stairs.
Yeah. Every band remembers that place because he had to log it up on the stairs.
Fucking gear. I'm sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to cuss, but
that's
loading gear up the stairs was always insane. By the way, those glasses are freaking rad. I love those. Thank you.
The next day, you guys played. It was supposed to be like a billiard place in Northern Virginia outside DC. And it was supposed to be all ages, and then I think they switched it to 21 and over. So then you guys did like an improv, like acoustic show in the parking lot for like me and like 10 other people.
I totally just remember. As soon as you said that, the memory popped up in my head.
That's why we're good. We remember everything.
I have a bad memory, and it takes like people triggering memories for them to pop in my head. But I love that they do still. So right on.
Very cool.
So my first interview was at 930 Club when you guys opened up for No Use for a Name, but I didn't talk to you there. I talked to LP and Sean. So I really have no idea how I went from being a fan at college to moving to Los Angeles and us linking up. But I'm pretty sure it was before I moved, because I remember specifically you told me, hey, when you get here, let me know and I'll take you out. And I thought you were like making, you were trying to be nice, because I moved to California. And you literally kept your word and almost immediately took me everywhere and introduced me to like all your friends. So you kept your word.
I'm trying to remember. Gosh, and I'll be honest, I barely remember all of that, but I do remember.
Yeah.
I do remember MySpace, and I do remember MySpace is how we started talking, or
probably you either did a phone interview with me, or maybe you were telling me about Takeover Records fans, No,
not that early. But yeah, no, I remember. God, it's such a blur for me. So we like went out. Where did I take you? Do you remember?
Well, this is weird. So I went to your apartment, which was near the 101 Cafe. So you took me there.
Okay, so I was at the apartment where you could literally see Capitol Records out my window.
And then when this is really weird. So you moved, and then one of my best friends, Jason Knotts, moved in right after you into the exact same unit.
I remember.
We're still friends today, Jason and I.
Cool. Tell him I said what's up. I think you kind of introduced me to him or mentioned him when he moved.
Yeah, when he was getting the tour, the woman said, "Oh, a famous musician lived here right before from Yellowcard." So she
really?
That's
cool.
Back to the original question from like 10 minutes ago. So you took me out, and right away you said, "Hey, I have this record label. I want to, make Takeover TV." And so I went out there with you, and we did so many great interviews. And I'm sad because I don't know where the footage is. I think when your webpage went down, they all went with it. But I remember we used to go all over the place. We went to the driving range with one of your bands, with Strike, Fire, Fall. I think we went to the driving range with them.
Yeah.
And I remember I went to introduce the matches on stage, and we filmed backstage, and Cal Penn was back
the
there.
Mini Factory. Yeah, those were so fun. We were ahead of our time, man, with the takeover TV and all that kind of digital content stuff. So literally,
what I'm saying is thank you, because you introduced me to like everywhere and everybody when we first got there. And when I'd go to shows with you, or if you were just there, you'd be like, "Hey, come meet this producer," or "Hey, come meet this record label person," and that was really cool and very, very un-LA of you. So thank you.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, well, mind you, we were a bunch of kids from Jacksonville, Florida, and we moved out, in 2001. So that was probably like 2004, 2003. Yeah. So we were still very fresh. There was no LA in us, I don't think, even though my parents were born and raised in California. But you're just a cool guy, and you were hardworking, and you just like, I don't know, I look back at some of the people in their drive, and you just sort of connect with people, and you had the same drive that we did, and it just felt right. And
we had fun. And now here we are.
It was fun. Yeah.
Here you are 20 years later, about to re-release this record. And I saw that on Facebook, and I showed Steve immediately. I asked, check this out. This is really exciting. Let's talk to Ben about this. Let's find out more.
Heck yeah. Here we are. God. 40. I'm 41. How old are you now? You're younger than me, right? Or same
younger than you. 39. Lucky. And Steve's older than
42,
you.
So
it goes so quick, man. I swear
it does. Where did the time go?
Like, I remember my 37th birthday, and I'm like, all right, I've got like 3 or 4 years till I'm 40. And then it was just like, boom. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is so rude. Go away. Okay. I'll turn the ringer off. I told you I was bad at this Zoom, guys.
Oh, it's all good.
But yeah, no, it was actually it was so funny. I don't know. I would think more like Yellowcard fans would be like, hitting Yellowcard up like, hey, you guys gonna do one or no one. It seems like this record almost was forgotten about in a sense where it's been 20 years. No one was expecting a reissue, I guess, with Yellowcard broken up. And because I was doing this Takeover Live studio, and I was kind of doing live streams during the pandemic. Kind of back in the music industry for the first time, because I was in cannabis for like 8 years or whatever, 10 years up in Big Bear. And Steve from Lobster Records just sort of called me up out of nowhere. Steve and I have been in touch. I'm probably one of the few members of Yellowcard that has been in touch with Steve from Lobster Records. And then with Takeover Live, I noticed, which is the live streaming thing, which I noticed that he was like liking our shows. And I was like, oh, cool, Steve from Lobster. And I remember almost, I think it was like 2019 or 2020, he was like, yeah, some big stuff's coming. And he's a very interesting man. He like hinted at, I don't know, and then fast forward to May this year, he was like, Ben, we're going to do the 20th anniversary re-release. And I have the reel to reels, and you're going to remix it, and we're going to do this. And I'm like, okay. And here we are, like, I don't know, however many months later, and thank God we were able to get it out. I don't know. Cool. Ask away. What?
Yeah. Do you have any fun stories about making that record 20 years ago? I mean, putting it together. I mean,
yeah. First of all, we're just lucky that the record's even able to be re-released and to do what we were able to do because of the reel to reels. You know what I mean? And just having it's just the right situation. And then Capitol Records didn't buy this out. You know what I mean? Steve from Lobster retained the rights. So everything else, Yellowcard with Ryan Key singing on it, is basically owned. Oh my God, I turned this off. I did.
Is it Steve from Lobster calling right now?
No, but it is the guy that's doing Travis, shout out. It's the guy that's doing the promo video for the release. And so
cool.
He's updating me. I think we're supposed to like do the press release right now. So that's why I'm like looking off in the computer screen. But okay, sorry. So great stories. Yeah, no, with one for the kids. We had gotten signed to Lobster Records. We had shopped to Drive Through Records and Lobster Records. We kind of knew Lobster Records through Warren, our bass player, because his older brother kind of knew the label from working out in California with Fat Records bands. Drive Through Lobster signed us, so he went with us. We ended up becoming really good friends with Richard at Drive Through and touring with a bunch of Drive Through bands. Thus, the Homegrown tour at Fletcher's in Baltimore. But the whole deal is we were a bunch of California kids, and we were so fascinated because we had a record budget, and we were booked to go record a record in California with the Pennywise producer, Darian Rundell. And so we had planned on moving to California. We hadn't moved out yet. So we actually drove across the country in a van to record the record. And we would always drive nonstop because we'd all take our turns, and get across in like 38 hours. We always pride ourselves on being the band to get across the country the fastest. And we remember we stayed at our friend Greg's in Hollywood, or no, Santa Monica-ish off the 405 in Pico. And then we would drive to Hermosa Beach every day, record with Darian Rundell, the producer. And it was our first real recording experience. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty sure Darian made LP cry.
That's kind of common for a lot of drummers recording for the first time,
Right, but because they don't realize how hard they're supposed to hit and how precise it's supposed to be. They're used
and they bring out the metronome.
And then and the producer's like, no, that's not good enough. And they're like, what? And you're 20 years old, and you're like, what? So it was. There's so many stories, and one thing that stands out the most is I remember us running out of time, and there was like a guitar solo that I couldn't cut. It was like, we can either do backing vocals or we can do the guitar solo. And, of course we're like, all right, we can leave that part off, and we do the backing vocals. And I remember, I think I had to ask my parents for $500 to help finish the record because Lobster didn't have any more money. It was really,
and then you paid it back.
Really, really great memories. And we had no idea like how popular that record would be. And I get, so I'll stop talking.
Let me ask you, it wasn't until after that I got to hear the previous two Yellowcard records, and they really don't sound anything like One for the Kids. When you started writing that record, did you all intentionally make an agreement to change the sound? Or did you start writing songs that used to sound a little bit harder like the old records, and then eventually it evolved into like a pop punkier sound?
Great question. I love that you old Yellowcard.
It's just completely different. It's like a whole different, doesn't sound anything alike.
Yeah, the old like Takeover Records Yellowcard was us in high school before we had Ryan in our band. We grew up on like Good Riddance, and our singer at the time, his name was Ben, he sounded like a British like raspy voice hardcore singer, and we wrote kind of in that vein. And basically, the world of house music started in the late 90s, and I remember Ben was so into house music, and we were rehearsing at his house, but he wasn't coming into rehearsal back in the garage. And we had known Ryan was in a band called Modern Amusement. Ryan was super, super talented. He went to our high school. He's a little older than us. He was a theater major. He could sing, and he had always had a punk band, and he would play with Inspection 12. And we had this kind of like circle of Jacksonville bands, and we'd all play locally. Well, Ryan went off, moved to Santa Cruz, California. He got accepted into a band called Craig's Brother on Tooth and Nail. He toured for, it was almost a year or two, and then he came back to go to college. And we intercepted Ryan because we weren't getting a lot of, I guess, I hit the decline.
You're in demand. Look at this. We gotta get this press release out.
If I even turn off my phone, does it?
I don't know. Every time he says the word Ryan, the phone rings. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is really weird. So anyways, basically, where were we talking about? We found Ryan. He was a homie. I remember him coming over to the apartment. I was out of high school, and he played some songs he had written while he was in Craig's Brother. And one of those songs, I think, was Rockstar Land. And we were like, dude, he had already, we were just like, I think he had already like sang on stage with Yellowcard a few times since he's been in town. You can see pictures of him without a guitar, just singing with us.
Wow.
And we just needed a new singer at the time. We were just high school kids. And we said, Ryan, we think, I remember driving to Florida State University with my guitar and jamming out in his dorm. And we just kind of was like, dude, your voice would work with Sean's violin. And that was that. It was just a natural progression. And once Ryan was in the band, he was sort of the main songwriter, and we just played around him and his songwriting and LP's drums. And Sean learned how to sing just because it was that style. So he could sing, Sean was always kind of a good singer, but he learned how to sing live. And so we could have harmonies and become the Yellowcard that most people know. So it's very few people even know that old sound. So
I love that. That's a
Steve.
good story. Yeah.
I feel like we go 1-1. Back to you.
Oh no, I mean, this reissue, is there going to be any like B-sides or remixes, I guess, or anything new that's going to be on this? Or
I'll tell you what, you guys are the first people. You know what? You are the first interview since this has been announced with anybody in Yellowcard.
Good.
And you'll be the first to be explained what is different about this release.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed, but on One for the Kids, I don't know what version you had, but the song AWOL, the last song on the record, some versions had Rough Draft, but Rough Draft wasn't even recorded during that session. That was just like an acoustic B-side that Ryan did on his own with our friend Deuce. It got added later, but AWOL was the last song on the record, and AWOL Live, we had always played this kind of hardcore outro. Now, if you've seen, there was always this like 2-minute song that appeared on some of the forms of One for the Kids. It was just instrumental, and it was like a secret song or whatever. For whatever reason, because we tracked the record on reel-to-reel tapes, I guess the producer, the communication wasn't there, but we were never able, or we ran out of time. We weren't able to connect the songs. The song, for whatever reason, it was recorded separately, and the songs, for whatever reason, just came out separate. It was AWOL, and then there was this random outro secret song instrumental thing. Well, people don't know that those were supposed to be connected, and that was the AWOL song. So now in the digital age, we were able to take that end of AWOL and actually connect it for the first time to the actual song. So there's a minute, AWOL's a minute and a half, 2 minutes longer than normal, and it's got this whole outro. So I don't know how many people will actually catch it, but yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Did you go back and add any instrumentation, or everything is just done as is and made to sound louder? Or
great,
however they do it.
Yeah, no, great question. The record was mixed by a gentleman named Jamie McMahon, who a lot of people know for he worked for Fat Mike for a long time. He did some Tony Sly acoustic records. He was a guy that was basically the producer in the studio at the time when the project was brought to us. And because it was my studio, I was able to kind of sit side by side with him during the mixing process, as well as involve LP and Warren. The only people that weren't involved were Ryan and Sean, because there's a void of communication there. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're not in touch with Ryan and Sean, and Ryan and Sean aren't in touch with us, and that's just the way it is right now. And we can talk about that later if you want. But excuse me, my dog is just trying to get attention.
That's mine in the background.
Every single time, right? Gosh, you look so familiar to me, Steve. Anyways, Sadie, you really are distracting me. You really have to go right now, please. Okay, so no, the answer is no. We didn't add any instrumentation. We kept the original tones, and we just used technology to enhance it. You know, compression. There was, you listen to the old record, Ryan's voice, no offense to anyone involved in the old record, wasn't even EQ'd properly. If you turn up the old One for the Kids, it starts hurting your ears. And so there's just some phenomenal things that we were able to do that wasn't done at that time for whatever reason, to make this record with its original tone sonically better than it ever has been. And I think there's very few old albums or bands that have popular records like this that are able to even be put through this transition, because for whatever reason, the mix, if you go and listen to the original mix, it's, I don't know, it's just, it's hard to describe. But it truly is in high definition, and I was very, very strict in order, and holy hell. Sadie, hold on 1 second.
This is awesome. This is almost like my old live show. Like, this is real.
Okay, sorry.
Don't edit that out. Is that it?
It's I'm not. This is great.
Right.
She brought some Tupperware thing in from the kitchen and is just throwing it around. It's the original tones. We didn't mess with it. Even a lot of people replace stuff with samples nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And drums, and it's just like really synthetic. And the drums on the record and the drum tones, every single tone on this record was amazing, but for some reason the mix got rushed, and thus the mastering of the project or something, it just didn't come out as good as some of the mixes on major labels or this or that at that time. And so, yeah. People
do you think that the record helped you get the deal and later, you know, you went on to Ocean Avenue, or was it the live show that got the attention of Capitol?
God, you should be like a Yellowcard historian, I swear to God.
I'm just old.
You just asked really good questions.
Actually,
you know,
I don't have it on me. I gotta find it. There's someone made like a Yellowcard book, and I ordered it like a few years ago on Amazon, and there's like a couple of quotes for me in there from like my first interview ever with, like
I think I know what you're talking about.
Really?
Up in like libraries. This book.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm
let's do a Yellowcard documentary hosted by DJ Rossstar.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Yeah. LP and I have been talking about the Yellowcard story, how it needs to come out, because there's so many different, you know, sides of the story. I bet.
Yeah.
and things that had and member changes, and gosh, if someone just went and compiled it all, I think. Especially with where pop punk is right now, I think people would dig it. And I think a lot of people in bands and young up and coming bands would learn a lot. So.
Oh, definitely.
I
mean, we love the Matches documentary. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen it yet, but I want to see it. And then I'll probably, you know, maybe after One for the Kids, we can all start talking about, you know, after this release, we can all start talking about something like that. And maybe there's enough communication now with Ryan and Sean because of this release, hint, that, maybe we can pull off something like that in the future. You guys, we should work together on it. But
that would be cool.
Trippy, though. I saw that book.
But I mean, I feel like I just answered my own question in my head because I know how entrepreneurial you are, and you're like a great businessman. So I'm sure you just went all around California talking to everybody and giving them the record, probably, right? Inviting them to your shows.
No. You actually you answered your question on the second interjection in the sense that it was the live show. I think the record, yes, the record itself, because of the time, because of mp3.com. I remember October nights blowing up, you know what I mean? And I remember, like, for the first time ever, why do we have 100,000 plays and this band doesn't? You know, what's going on? And then we started playing around California, and shit, we took our whole band around, not just the CD. I mean, we played everything and everywhere in 2001 and 2002 to where a manager found us and started telling all the major labels, and they started coming out. And I remember Capitol Records came to like 7 shows before they signed us. So
wow.
Now, before people started coming to see the live show,
it was the first really quick. It was the first sense of viral. Like, there was internet, there was message board, and people were coming to see us. And we were not on the radio. We were not on any kind of like Victory or Drive Through. We were on Little Lobster Records with nothing. So
my question, it's half funny, half serious. Did Sean do the backflips before the labels started coming to the shows, or did you add that in there on purpose to make something stand out?
Okay, Sean was always kind of the jock in the band. He was sporty. He didn't smoke weed. He wore colored shirts and stuff. And he fucking did backflips, I think, he was always doing crazy shit, especially old Yellowcard. I'm pretty sure the backflip was always there ever since we wrote October Nights.
Wow.
Fantastic. Oh, you got the dog in there now, Steve.
Yeah, the dog wants attention.
I was looking for I was like, where's my dog? No.
I closed the door. Wants to be in the video. Oh.
No, I gotta open the door. I'll be right back. Hold on.
All right.
All right. This is fantastic, man. What a trip down
that
lane. Well, cool. I think we should start. Okay, we're good.
Oh my God. That was so cool.
I was gonna let the cat in, but not. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll get to that. So, let's make sure we get all the important stuff. So the record. So the digital is coming out in December. What's the exact day?
Okay, and then also I think.
Or is that pushed back?
Well, no, it's not even really announced, because I noticed that the article came on Spin. They didn't even really mention the digital, and the press release, I don't think even mentions the digital. I think maybe we'll actually announce it a week or right during the period. But yeah, the digital comes out December 17th. So
I think that's in the article, because that's why I said that.
It does say, yeah. Okay, good. It's in there. Yeah, it's in there. It's just not pushed right now because obviously people are so into vinyl and stuff, and it's a limited, vinyl sells out and we can only do one pressing, blah, blah, blah.
So on midnight on December 17th, will it be on Apple Music? Will I be able to get it anywhere?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's going to be
Excellent.
13 tracks, you said.
Nope, there's only the original 11 because.
Interesting. I feel like the press release said 13%.
Yeah, well, the Spin article messed it up. They had
Okay.
like, and then we had to like tell them to edit it 3 times. And
That's why we're here to get the real scoop.
freaking journalism, man.
That's what I told Steve. I said, that's cool. Maybe they'll have 2 songs we haven't heard from that session because I know there's 11 normally.
There were we definitely, when we pulled the reel to reels, we were hoping there was something we forgot about, but really the only special thing was being able to connect AWOL in its entirety, which there was always I think there was always 11 songs plus the secret track, which was the second half of AWOL, and then a rough draft got added, and that's what made the 13. But this is the original 11. So.
Okay, so basically it sounds better, and you get the connected 2 songs at the end. And I guess you also said there's some new photos in the booklet.
Yeah, cool. I think one of the coolest things is the vinyl packaging, because Warren and I and whoever, anyone that had Yellowcard pictures, we compiled them all. We went through every single old Yellowcard, literally photos from 20 years ago, and we sent them we digitized them and got them, and they are all, going to be just in this vinyl. They won't be anywhere else but in the vinyl. So maybe in the documentary we'll unveil them, but.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time to check in with us.
No problem.
I know you're a busy guy. Your phone's blowing up 3 times in this interview.
Literally.
Hey, you guys are on it. We're literally just now releasing a press release to the rest of the world, and you guys just sort of caught on with our light announced last Friday. So cheers. Thank you.
And where do they pre-order the vinyl right now, or when it comes out?
Lobsterrecords.com, Cyber Monday.
Cool.
Right. Cyber Monday / Spider-Man Monday. Let's do it.
Oh, it is, huh? Let's do it.
Yeah.
So thanks for hanging, and do me a favor, since you are my favorite businessman. If you can get over it to play a reunion show, I will fly back to California. Work on that for me if you can.
I'll tell you right now, insider information. Steve from Lobster has been in touch with Peter Munters, and there are plans of Over It reissues. So
I want a show. Not
I'm sure. I really think that isn't out of the realm. Obviously, more in the realm than having like a Yellowcard reunion show. So.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, that's for the documentary.
There we go. Love it.
All right, thank you very much, man.
So much
we'll take a group photo after we end this call. But anything else, Steve?
No, man. Thank you so much. That was a great interview.
Yep. Awesome.
Thanks for hanging with us.